Good afternoon, everyone. The time is now 2:05. I call to order the meeting of the Orange County Sewer District Number One Advisory Committee, Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. A copy of the agenda for this meeting may be found on the county website under the tab for the legislature. Please silence your phones and electronic devices. And at this time, I ask you to rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kelly, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Leno?
Here.
Benelli? Cheney?
Here.
Ellers?
Here.
Botel? Here. Dewey?
Here.
Present one.
Okay, great. First up, we have Rich Golden, County Attorney, Joseph Mahoney, Senior County Assistant County Attorney. Eric Nenger, I'm not sure if he's going to be with us today.
No, he's away.
Is he away? Okay. Robert Gray, Deputy Commissioner EF&S, and Mary Beth Bianconi, partner Delaware Engineering, EPC. Mary Beth, you come up. Item 1A is design phase update for the Harriman wastewater treatment plant.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
afternoon. We have our usual committee update. There are only a few things that are new, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on all of these topics. But on the technical work group, the last meeting was the day after our last committee meeting, which was August 20th was the last meeting of the technical group. We do have 60% design here due in a couple weeks, and we are on track for that. Hit parade topics discussed at the last meeting and ongoing are the potable and non-potable water systems for the wastewater treatment plant. They discussed briefly the layout of the non-potable system, yard hydrants, foam control nozzles, fire hydrants, protection systems. Last time we were here, we talked a little bit about the grit and grease removal design. The group did go to the Schuylerville wastewater treatment plant and looked at the system that's there, and everyone was pretty impressed with it. And they made some decisions regarding how the grit pumps will function at the site. Last time we talked a little bit about screens here at this meeting. They advanced that design a little bit further. A couple of figures that I do want to go over really quickly because we've had some questions about it. So there's some acronyms here, and I apologize, I didn't write everything out, but ADF is average daily flow. As you know, we've been talking about this being an upgrade from our current 6 MDD plant to a 9 million gallon a day plant, so that ADF of 9. This is the one that might surprise everybody, the peak hydraulic flow. So the amount of water that we have to put through the headworks at any given time is 31.8 million gallons a day. And then what we call the wet rag load is 4 to 6.5 cubic yards per million gallons a day. And on that last one, this is my commercial for the day. Flushable wipes are not flushable. Do not flush them. Do not flush anything that did not come from your body or is not toilet paper. Put it in the garbage. You will save a ton of money and a lot of operational issues at the wastewater treatment plant. So that's the end of that commercial. We have a design now that has 2 21.2 million gallon mechanical screens and 1 manual screen as a bypass with a provision for a 4th channel with another 21.3 MGB mechanical screen in it. That's for a future upgrade. And the technology selection is underway. The next field visit is to the Coxsackie wastewater treatment plant in Greene County to look at the screens. Those are Dupont screens in Coxsackie. So that's the next field visit, and I know they're working to schedule the date. On secondary access, we have had good success working with DOT. They had no comments on the preliminary plans, and we have the final plans, it says in development, but they're essentially done. County's been working on the application for the purchase of the real property, and the current work is that we'll need some additional temporary access and temporary access during construction with DOT, and we're working with them on that process. And so consultants, we really don't have an update other than we have a date certain for the geotech to be on site, and that is now September 22nd. Regulatory, there's no real update on the 9 MGD because our focus has shifted to responding to NOI, or I'm sorry, there's no update on the 6. Our focus has shifted to responding to NOIA 1 on the 9, and that was at the request of DEC to advance both at the same time. New information here is that we are having technical meeting actually tomorrow and continuing discussions with DEC to eliminate our second outfall. It's outfall 02. That outfall is superfluous at this point in time. It was put in many years ago. It's not necessary. And we're looking at that as part of this regulatory proceeding. So there is some efforts happening on that respect. For financing, CWSRF, there's no change there. Folks will remember the last meeting we announced that on August 13th, the draft federal fiscal year 2026 intended use plan had been issued, and the Harriman project qualifies for $25 million in zero interest borrowing for a 30-year term. And the balance of the project costs would be available to the county at subsidized funding that is 50% of market rate whenever you close. That is pretty darn good money. Bipartisan infrastructure law status remains to be determined. We are hoping to see more information from the state on in the October 1st intended use plan, which is the final intended use plan. Just a footnote there, we've had a lot of people asking us if the status of that funding is in jeopardy because it changes on the current federal level. The answer is no. That program was always intended to be a 5-year program. It was adopted during COVID, and this is the last year's program. So it's really just about how much funding was remaining in the 5-year allocation. Water quality improvement program, we submitted that grant application on July 31st, working together with county grants. And then hot off the presses on Friday of last week with the assistance of Attorney Mahoney and Jody over in the grants office, we submitted our Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grant. This is the last one that we have on the docket for right now until any new grants are announced. This one would be 25% of net costs up to $25 million and $5 million annual increments after all of their funding is taken into consideration. And the legislature conducted some legislation to support that application back on September 4th. And we appreciate everybody working hard to get the materials together for that grant application, which went in on Friday. And then the last thing that I have for today is something that's a new topic for us here. And this is something called Enhanced Public Participation Plan, or you'll see the acronym a lot, EPP. 3 Ps.
What was that, Mary Beth?
Enhanced Public Participation Plan. It's on page 4 of the handout. And there's a little parentheses there. It says required by SPEEDs. So I'll take a second to explain what we're doing here. So as folks know, SPEEDs is our state pollutant discharge elimination system permit. It is issued by New York State DEC. New York State DEC has a couple of different parallel programs running that you have to comply with whenever you are receiving one of these types of permits. Those include the Disadvantaged Communities Program, or DAC, Disadvantaged Communities, as well as another parallel program as well, environmental justice or potential environmental justice. This has to do with that historically, if we look back in time, land uses that were perhaps less than desirable would frequently end up in locations where they impacted the same communities over and over and over again. So landfills, wastewater treatment plants, railroad tracks, ports, these kinds of things all had a tendency to end up in the same communities historically, going back, to the Industrial Revolution. So the state has a program to try to mitigate some of those impacts. Now, the reality of a lot of this infrastructure, port infrastructure, is where it is because it's on the water and it's a port. It has to be accessible to shipping. A lot of wastewater treatment plants are where they are because God said water goes downhill, and we take use of gravity and we put them on water bodies, usually in the lowest point in the community, which also has a tendency to be land that's sometimes frequently subject to flooding and is lower value land. So a lot of the siting of this type of infrastructure was not because someone sat there and said, let me be a bad person and affect these populations. It was more driven by economic considerations than anything. But the state has a program to take those things into consideration now. One of the things that we have to do, because our area of our wastewater treatment plant and our population served, there's a portion of our area that is a disadvantaged community, and there's a portion of our area that is a potential environmental justice community. So because of those factors, we have to conduct something called enhanced public participation with our species permit. And really what it is it's a way of engaging stakeholders in the process of the upgrade and make sure that the public is aware of what's happening. That's an opportunity to comment on it. So we have to prepare an EPPP plan, and send it to the state. They review and approve it. They have a template that we follow for it. And I'll just briefly talk about the elements of the plan. We need to identify the stakeholders and create a contact list. So that's going to be, usually it's going to be our service area, municipal leaders, community leaders, as well as folks and communities in proximity to the wastewater treatment plant. We need to identify a project liaison, which is going to be someone from the project sponsor. So that's probably going to be someone in EF&S, I would assume, but we haven't done that yet. We do need to identify that. Could be Eric as the DPW commissioner. We've often seen that role as the project liaison. We need to conduct public outreach activities, including public meetings. Tentatively, we are looking at scheduling 4 topical meetings planned ideally for late 2025 and through mid 2026. Timing is going to be based on when the state approves our plan and when we can coordinate locations. We are looking at our topics being odors, truck traffic, aesthetics, what's this thing gonna look like, and finances. Those are our typical topics because they're the ones that we get the most questions on from the public. Not to say that other things can't be discussed, but those are the big ones. We prepare fact sheets and on the project, and we prepare them in multiple languages so that they're accessible to everyone in the service area. And we distribute those widely so that people have access to those and can read them. And when the speedies, the application here, it says distribution of notice of complete application, that's the application for the wastewater treatment plant for the 9 million gallon a day plant. We distribute that notice of complete application that the state gives us to our distribution list. So again, the public is engaged and knows what's going on. And then interestingly, probably the most useful part of these programs we find is the document repository. How we've handled this in the past is we've created a dedicated website for the project. We put project information on that website so it's easy for people to find. And then we have physical locations where the paper copies are available. I will say that the documentation for this project going back in time is available on the county's website. However, it's in different locations. Some of the information is on the EF&S website, like the environmental impact statement is located there. But then anything the legislature does is located in the legislature's agendas in the legislature. So the idea of a dedicated website is we bring all of those things together so that the public doesn't have to go searching and try to find the pieces and parts. Physical location generally is going to be probably here at the county, and then we often would put physical copies in the municipal town and village halls. Sometimes we do libraries or any place else where we think the public may gather and want to see paperwork for the project. And then the last thing I'll say is I have been doing a number of community presentations at the request of the communities and or the organizers of the meetings. And the chairman's aware of these. Back in April, I spoke at the Orange County Mayors and Supervisors meeting. In June, I attended a board meeting at the town of Monroe with Mr. Gray We did a brief presentation there. And then last week on Tuesday, I was in the Village Harriman. These presentations are all essentially the same. They are essentially the presentation that you saw me give for the hearings that we conducted, both in July and in March here. And the only thing that happens is as time goes by, I update them to cover the new information that we have, particularly with respect to financing, because that's the thing that changes the most.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Any questions from committee members? No, I'd also just like to, thank you, Mary Beth, but I'd like to also make note that we have Mayor Wayne Mitchell and Deputy Mayor Carol Schneider from Harriman. We have Councilwomen Poole and Bingham from Monroe. And we also have the Curious Joel Administrator, Gadot Executive. If there's no other questions, we'll move on to item C. And that's a review engineer report for hydrogen sulfide gas levels in the village of Monroe.
Thank you. Let's just pass out a little bit of information here. I'm really limited on copies. So if you guys could share one. This? Go. And one for me. Nope. Here's a more schematic drawing of the same thing. I'll explain what these say. Schematic one's actually easy to follow, as usual. And then I have a copy of our report. We create a weekly report about where we look at the hydrogen sulfide levels in the interceptor from after there's a pump. Let me go back a little bit. There's a pump station that serves the village of South Blooming Grove and another. Yeah, good. And another that serves the Chester and part of Monroe. You look on the schematic map, you'll see going from left to right, labeled Chester Pump Station 3A. There's a box in the middle of that map there. That's fed by 3 other pump stations, believe it or not. And that delivers sewage heading towards Monroe. Along that route, the force main from the pump station at South Blooming Grove, you can see at the top of the page on the schematic, they both combine at a point and become a combined force main, and then ultimately going to a gravity sewer that heads down to Monroe in the airplane park. There have been many reports of odors in Airplane Park. So based on that, we started monitoring efforts.
There's been meters on it before.
Yes, there have been meters on, continuous metering since January. There are 2 manholes in Airplane Park that have hydrogen sulfide meters. And if you look, I think it's the 3rd and 4th page in the report, you'll see the first manhole is manhole M7, and the hydrogen sulfide readings continuous. And you'll see also manhole M1. And you can see the levels. And there are 2 forms of treatment that are being used at South Blooming Grove and at the Chester Pump Station. South Blooming Grove uses a chlorine feed, sodium hypochlorite. Think very strong Clorox. It's pumped into the wet well at that pump station. And then it retards the hydrogen sulfide and the ability for it to decompose, create odors. The The pump station at Chester, on the other hand, uses an oxygenation system. You probably recall us talking about that. It's a system manufactured by the Anu, the company's name is Anu. And basically it's high pressure oxygen and ozone that's pumped into the discharge from the pump station. Think soda water, a lot of oxygen. It's going to treat the hydrogen sulfide so it can't continue. It oxygenates the sewage. The sewage is in a septic state, actually no oxygen, and a lot of decomposition going on. So that oxygen reduces the conversion to hydrogen sulfide, which is the gas that's being smelled. So that those two force mains combine and flow into the airplane park in the village of Monroe. Down in Monroe, we have those two manholes, which you can see the charts. The second and third and fourth page, I'm sorry. In addition to that, twice a week, we do what we call ambient levels in airplane park. We walk around, we take, in each case, 180 samples are collected. We have a meter that measures those levels. We have on order a new meter, which will actually not only measure the concentration of hydrogen sulfide at a more accurate level, but it will also record them. Right now, it's a two-man operation. Actually stop, take the reading, another man, a person, record it, and move on to the next one. The DEC has given us a limit of concentration for hydrogen sulfide in the ambient, in the air. That level is 0.01 parts per million. Our tests, and you can see the results. The results are on the last two pages. Those each go around is 180 samples. The average right now, I'll give you the number only once, 0.001 to 0.003, which is 1 to 3% of the threshold allowable. So much lower than what's permitted.
State standard.
The state standard that DEC gave us. However, any odor is uncomfortable. It's not something that you really want to smell, especially in a park. So we've embarked on a program to seal the manhole, seal any vents, anything we can find that will allow the gas to escape from the manholes. In the next,
It still comes and goes.
it comes and goes. You'll see you can see the recorded. Once in a while, you'll see a reading that
Spikes.
registers. I wouldn't even call it a spike. Even that spike is well below the 0.01 level. But again, it's not something that's pleasant. So in addition to the resealing of the manholes, it occurred to us that perhaps we're seeing gas from building vents. Typically, any building or house should have what's called the house trap. It's the last where the discharge from the building leaves. There's a trap. It's in a U-shaped trap with water in it. That prevents gas from coming back. If you live in a house with a septic system, it prevents that gas from coming into your house. Same thing for a sewer. There ought to be a trap
So the trap should be in homes, and there's also
in the
a
building.
house trap. It's still called a house trap.
It's called a house trap if it's in a
In commercial.
warehouse or any, it's called a house. That's a plumbing term. It's a house
Okay, so
trap.
that's the same term in commercial businesses. too.
Correct. So it just occurred to us that perhaps there are connections that don't have the benefit of that. And we could be getting odors from a roof vent that isn't properly, the proper trap isn't in place. The other possibility is, that there's a connection direct to the sewer, say from downspouts or storm drains on the roof that are connected in. Smoke test is exactly what I say it is. It's, you introduce a non-toxic smoke into the sewer, and that smoke will go up and find a path out. And before we do it, we have to notify all the property owners, notify EMS, fire departments, because it could be sensed that a building might be on fire. So we want to make sure that that's put out. That will probably happen at the end of this week or next week.
Now,
And perhaps it's just an ongoing effort to reduce this.
it's another step in the
Yeah.
process.
Go ahead,
of
Peter, I'm sorry.
elimination. Now, if you can do a smoke test in the commercial buildings, is there a way to do a smoke test in the main coming then?
Well, the smoke test is, the smoke is introduced in the main,
Okay,
and then the smoke travels up the main and out through the laterals. And will stop if there's a trap, but if there's no trap, it will continue up, and you'll see it in a vent
is
in the
it,
roof.
what color is the smoke, just to
It's gonna be a
differentiate
black.
from a house fire?
It's gonna be a black.
It's like gray.
Generally a gray, black smoke, yeah.
And
It's
then-
generally, typically though, these smoke tests are used as part of an I&I program. That's typically the use. So one step is to, for I&I is to detect where storm sewers or leaders and gutters are connected to the sanitary sewer. And we'll see smoke, you know, I've done these a lot. You'll see smoke coming out of the top of the downspout at the end of the gutter. You know. Okay, there's some I&I. But in this case, it'll both detect I&I, but it also may show where we're seeing odors coming out of the roof vent and getting out.
Or
into the
along
party.
the line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just another effort to bring this level down even further.
And then if you do observe this from a home or a building, then what would be the recourse after that?
Well, I think then it's probably well, we're talking the village of Monroe now, so I guess it would be the village hall and then the building inspector and plumbing inspector.
Notify that location.
Yeah.
To
Now,
get us.
now, let's get back to a little bit to the treatment. Again, South Blooming Grove is using chlorine, liquid chlorine, and Chester is using this oxygenation system, the ANU system. Again, in response to the complaints, we go out 2 to 3 times a week and visit both systems, make sure they're chlorinating in South Blooming Grove, and make sure that the ANU system is functioning properly in Chester. The chlorine, basically, they're dosing at about 60 gallons a day. That's what they need to suppress the hydrogen sulfide. So we count the carboys, we count the volume of chlorine on hand, making sure they have it on hand, that the treatment is continuous.
And I'd like to just add one thing here, Bob.
Yeah, please.
That when we did the new testing,
Mhm.
it was actually determined that it, in the long run, would be less expensive than the use of chemicals.
Yes, we did. I'll talk about that a little bit back. This has to be 2022, I believe, or 21. We contacted ANU and we made arrangements for them to bring in a system on a trailer. So we did a pilot test for a week at South Blooming Grove. discontinued the chlorination and pumped the oxygenated, the oxygen and ozone generator into the force main, leaving South Monroe. Measured the results in Monroe, and they were markedly improved. The levels of hydrogen sulfide. There was a report written, and that report showed that by utilizing a lease from ANU, that municipality would actually, it would actually end up costing them less money than they are spending on electricity and chlorine currently.
Nobody have any questions on legislative members?
I just had a comment on the house traps you made before.
Yeah.
So they've been prohibited in New York for at least 10 years, on both residential and commercial. So
I was not aware.
you're not allowed to install them for at least 10 years.
What's the reason
I'm
for
not
that?
sure, but
I'm gonna look into that, thank you.
they've been prohibited for a long time, so someone give public knowledge.
Okay.
So what would happen if you did the smoke test? 'Cause I mean, they still do smoke tests.
Your only trap goes on each appliance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Not on the house itself.
you may see smoke coming out the vent.
Now, if you have a sub pump directly, then you'll see.
Yeah.
Or like you said, gutter meters, stuff like that.
Yeah.
As far as house traps.
But if,
Okay, so because I know that they still do it, because they do, I know community development, I think it was out by Walden or something, they were doing smoke tests in their lines only a couple of years ago. So,
Tests are done all
so
over
it's,
the
Yeah,
place.
they're still
That's
being done all
That's
over.
for some
No,
pumps.
they're still being all over.
generally looking for sump pumps and meters and gutters, sources of iodine.
So just because it's not a house trap and it's been outlawed, doesn't mean you can't get a result from that?
You
You can't get it from a house trap
but-
if you don't have it,
But
but
what
you
that
can get
says to
some
me
of the
is
type of.
if there are no house traps, that hydrogen sulfide gas could be exiting the structure through the vent, and it's heavier than air, so it's gonna come down and be in the park.
So we should clarify though, so traps are still required on every piece of plumbing equipment. It's just that a house trap
House trap.
was so that you didn't have to put one, say you had 3 toilets in your house. Right now, you have to put one in each toilet at the toilet. You have to have a trap, right, to create an air gap to prevent sewage and from backing up,
Trap
right?
built into the toilet.
Right, there's a trap built into the toilet. House traps were intended to take the entire plumbing discharge from a house through one common trap in the house. That is no longer allowed.
Mm.
So you still need to have a backflow preventer, you still need to have that air gap, you still need, that's required. It's just
I just learned something.
the method has changed, right?
Yeah,
So now it's you're doing it at the source as opposed to all in one place.
Mhm.
But notwithstanding that, given our housing stock in some of our older communities,
Mhm.
a lot of the housing stock in Harriman was built before, like right after World War II. Probably has house traps as opposed to, unless somebody's upgraded their house and
In the
put in
last
all
10
new
years.
plumbing.
Yeah.
Right, well, or
So is it grandfathered
probably, you know, toilets have been sold with traps in them for decades. I mean, that's like a normal, if you put it in your toilet in your house, you got it, right? You just didn't know it, right? So I just want to be clear
What
that,
that says is,
It's-
if we don't see smoke.
Yeah.
Either, well, it probably means there is a house trap in that structure.
right,
Right.
there's something, right?
If there's no trap, we'll see smoke.
I will say, we
That's
do a
perfect.
lot of these INI studies in our older communities, and we do a lot of smoke testing. And despite the fact that we will notify an entire neighborhood that we're gonna smoke test,
Yeah.
and it's older housing stock,
Yeah.
the second the smoke is introduced, we get people flying out of their houses saying, I'm calling 911 because I have a fire in my house.
Right.
So what that means is that they don't have that track, because their house was built in 1940, and it's never been updated, and it doesn't have that separation, right? So it's kind of indicative of older housing stock, but I think to Bob's point, you're trying to nail down where these odors could be coming
Yeah,
from.
I think we're still gonna proceed with it, because like you said, there's a lot of older buildings there. And
a lot of the houses.
we'll find out.
North Main Street.
Yeah. If we see smoke, we'll realize it could be the source of hydrogen sulfide gas. And then we could do other testing. And part of our ambient testing, we could test in that vicinity.
And how do you notify the homeowners and the businesses of when it will be happening so people don't panic and come running out?
In writing, in phone calls, both.
Both?
Notify the community, notify the fire department, notify EMS, notify everybody.
Put it on Facebook, or social?
Sandwich boards,
But like Mary Beth says, people will
they still.
react that way.
Yeah.
They see
But
smoke.
at least we're making
Yeah.
it.
To make sure, you know,
An effort to notify. the
I
public.
experienced a house fire last year, trust me, I'd make sure.
Legislative change.
So this smoke testing is going to occur in the area of Airplane Park?
Yes,
Specifically along North Main Street, that's on the other side of the Heritage Trail.
And what's the status of the Village of South Blooming Grove pump station? And did you say they're just treating it with chlorine at this
Correct.
point in
Yes.
time?
yes. They opted out of doing the annual system. They didn't proceed.
Have we done tests anywhere else in the line between the Village of South Blooming Grove pump station and where it meets with the Chester?
You mean smoke tests?
No, tests to determine the level of hydrogen sulfide gas.
Not yet.
It's, well, it's force
Not yet.
main.
I think that would be,
It's force main.
That's, I say not yet because it's being planned.
is there a way to test it? Just as or before it enters the, where it meets up with the Chester?
Yes, there is.
Have we tested that?
Not yet, it's in the works.
I almost think that it would be more cost effective to proceed with that testing prior to spending a lot of time and effort trying to figure out whether there's an ambient air problem in the area of Airplane Park, because that could be the culprit.
It could be, yeah, but there is an issue. I mean, there are a lot of reports of it.
Oh, no, I'm not discounting the
Yeah.
fact that
Yeah.
there's an issue there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at the source.
Mhm.
And I would think we want to work hard at
Right now-
eliminating the most obvious source.
Right now, we're
of the
looking
problem.
at both force mains. We're going to be testing for hydrogen sulfide as well as dissolved oxygen in both force mains.
I mean, can we get a sample after the Chester system?
Yes.
After the treatment, we can get
Both of those
right
force
at that
mains,
end of the force main? At the
before
end?
they combine, we'll have.
No, I meant right back at where the system is, the treatment system is in the Chester pump station.
Yeah, we can, but the time that the wastewater is in that force main, you know, it's an on and off type of thing. It's gonna have, it's a detention time thing, and, you know, I think, I mean, we could test very close to where the pump station is, but I think we're gonna see a different result.
Downstream
Downstream or upstream, it's pumping upstream.
or upstream.
Yeah, right. But, you know, right now, we're trying to figure out where there is a spot where we can actually access both force mains to do tests.
What do we have that tells us that the annual system, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, system that's at Chester is functioning and giving us good results?
Well, we have their design, you know, it was designed.
Right, no.
Yeah, that's basically all we have right now without testing.
And when
But
we
we
did do the test in October of 2022, and they were both on the oxygenation systems,
That's true.
it was, I mean, we had the results there, and it's clearly showed that it worked. And it was with the metered readings, and also the, go down there and do a smell test and tell. So down there, Tony Cardone and myself are over at the system several days watching them do it. And we go over to the park and see if we can get anything on the smell test ourselves individually. And then the report came back from Anu. And
But to Barry's point, that was after the two systems combined. You know what I mean?
Right.
That,
Well, but-
so if, let's say, for instance, South Blooming Grove was super rich in oxygen and might have overcame some deficit from the other pump stations, we wouldn't know it. So by doing individual tests, that's the best way.
We'll
Follow-
legislate
maybe
change it, right? So you.
You follow what I'm saying?
Were they using a temporary oxygen pump system in Blooming Grove originally? That's when we had the lower smell,
Originally, or?
4 years ago.
No.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
We brought it in for
It's
a
the
week.
portable system, and that's when it
Yes,
worked.
Yeah.
yes.
So that's why Chester put theirs in.
No, they
No,
had.
Chester already had
I
it.
just had it, that's right. And Blooming Grove was supposed to put it in, they decided not to.
Well, that was the purpose of the test, to prove
That they felt, the engineers felt that if
it would be an improvement, and it was.
It would, work. And then the truck came in from out Midwest somewhere, a big trailer,
Portable.
Yeah.
big portable trailer.
Yeah, the
They
entire
hooked it up
system
for
on the
7 or 8
trailer.
days.
It's a sales thing for them. It's on a trailer, all they have to do is hook it up, it works great.
And then the village actually did a resolution to register the system.
They did.
in December. 2
I
months
was advised
after.
of that back in 22.
But due to other issues, they didn't see it as a priority.
I mean, we're doing our best to track this down, but to answer your question, we will be doing hydrogen sulfide tests on each portion. It's just,
I'd like to see that as soon as possible.
we would too, it's not, you can't just open up a portion, you know, some
No,
pressure, yeah, so, yeah, so we're,
But again, I think we're going down the wrong route. And so I'm just trying to understand the dynamics, and maybe this isn't a question that can be answered here. But what role does the county have in forcing a solution to a problem that we don't end up paying for?
well, there is the sewer use law, which requires treatment, and it does specify that level. That has to be.
A level of hydrogen sulfide?
Yeah.
So it exists to allow us to enforce it. And if we test for it and we find it, we can then make steps to have the problem corrected.
Make steps, yes.
Yeah, I don't think
Our attorney might have
now,
something to
without
say. Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
the sewer use law, but this might, yeah, from what I recall, and I've read it more than once. But yes, the county has the ability to take enforcement action.
Up to and including one.
Again, I need to look at it.
Enforcement action.
Should we take a look at that for next month? You see what that would entail? All right, I'm gonna move on, but I do have one other quick question. When we do the smoke test, and
Yes.
it does determine, and we notify the village, who's responsible for that? The homeowner?
The building owner, yeah.
The homeowner?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would have to
It's their building.
make.
But,
the building-
but from what I learned today, we can't require them to install a trap, right?
A lot of times you'll find that it's, even if they, say you've redone your bathroom in the last 20 years, you have a trap, it came with either the sink or the toilet.
Yeah.
It's there, right? It's, if you say you have a laundry sink that you've never touched in the history of your whole house, probably don't have a trap on it. So it's gonna be, usually it's things like that. Sometimes it's some pumps that are directly connected, pipe connections. But it's usually a local code enforcement issue, notify the code enforcement officer, and then it's up to the building owner to comply. There's New York State plumbing code, which is what I'm talking about.
So with the smoke test,
Mhm.
we're gonna inject smoke into the sewer.
Yeah.
We see it coming out the stack,
Right,
roof vent.
roof vent.
Then we know that there's a connection between the sewer and the roof vent that could be allowing sewer gas to escape through that.
I would say likely, yeah.
Yeah.
Should be, that's how it's designed.
It's actually
That's
supposed to
what
have a
it's saying.
connection.
Exactly.
For the newer homes, you should have a connection.
And the bonus is if we see it coming out of a roof drain or a gutter, We know we found some INI.
It's INI.
The village is gonna be very interested in seeing that,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure they'll be right there. when it's showing.
You're a chuckle.
This is a good in-depth update. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, I learned something, I appreciate it.
Anybody have anything else?
Just have one question about where we're at with allocation of the new. We spoke about this last month, the month before, year before,
Allocation, what?
allocation of the 3 million gallons additional capacity.
I think that's working on, that's gonna be the process with the new, IMAs, right? We're doing new IMAs.
When are they gonna do that?
I don't have a timeframe.
It's not done.
Yeah, I'd like to get it done in the next couple of months. They've been started, but there's a lot of issues that trying to research and go through our history to see what the problems have been hit. And then also do research, legal research as to what has caused lawsuits and what has caused problems between municipalities. And try to address that. Again, fix the problem before it even exists.
How old are these IMAs?
1978.
So it's time they're updated.
So it's time.
Yes,
Presumably, it's around the next couple of months.
absolutely. If I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, I think the agreement will come to the legislature before it's actually signed. It has to come.
The draft.
I just
Oh,
want
of
to see a
course.
draft.
Yeah, that's what
Draft it.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I don't want to see the day of the meeting.
No, my intent was try to work with the municipality. See what we can reach, what we can agree to, if there's any agreement.
Remember, part of the
And then it comes to you.
environmental process, we circulated a question
We did.
about needs, long-term and short-term needs. of these
Part of that
communities.
information.
Which,
I'm gonna take a quick question. Ms. Payne.
The peak flow levels, would that also have some kind of effect on the hydrogen sulfide levels? Like when you have more flowing through, with the sulfide levels be lower? So
Goes
you
down.
wanted possibly to do your testing when we do not have whatever that time period
Yeah,
is.
you can't smoke test on a brain, so that's not wrong.
Okay, but what time of day are those peak levels occurring?
That's when it rains.
Yeah.
Only when it rains?
Well, you have diurnal flow.
Yeah, we do, but it's not.
Typically,
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no, I know that. But like during the middle of the day, it usually flows
low.
fairly slow.
preference would be that
Peaks in
there
the
be no
morning.
water in the sewer.
8:30, yes.
So, you know, we're gonna be, try to hit the lower flow.
Depends on how far it has to go.
Actually,
I'm gonna shoot like really like the low flow that's not an overnight flow is usually, right after lunch before kids come home from school. So it's like 1:30, 3 is like the ideal lowest flow during the day, to your point, time to do it. And then right now we have incredibly dry conditions. So you're really gonna see really, really dry. And there's no rain forecast for the next 14 days.
And
Not
we're gonna
substantial.
stay away from weekends, Saturdays.
Yeah, yeah.
Only,
Yeah,
Friday
Friday
might be a good
nights.
day to do it, it's a low flow.
Friday afternoons. are
I'm
good.
sorry, Saturday is a low flow.
Saturday's a low flow day.
All right, great, thank you, everybody. Seeing any other questions, adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Keep you posted.
Yeah.
Could get rid of it.
hey, there.
Yeah.
Um,